The Shadow of the Atom, a true tale of the Manhattan Project. Imagine a pre-dawn desert in New Mexico, July 16, 1945. A group of the world's brightest minds huddle in bunkers, hearts pounding as a countdown echoes through the silence. At 5:29 a.m., a blinding flash erupts, brighter than 1,000 suns, birthing a mushroom cloud that claws at the heavens. The ground trembles, windows shatter miles away, and J. Robert Oppenheimer, the project's scientific soul, whispers words from ancient scripture. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." This was no fiction. This was the Trinity test, the culmination of a secret war effort that harnessed the atom's fury and forever altered humanity's fate. This is the story of the Manhattan Project, a saga of ingenuity, sacrifice, and moral reckoning that unfolded in the shadows of World War II, driven by American resolve and global fears. The roots of this extraordinary endeavor trace back to the late 1930s, a time when Europe teetered on the brink of catastrophe. In December 1938, in a modest laboratory in Berlin, German chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann conducted an experiment that would ignite the chain reaction of history. They bombarded uranium atoms with neutrons, expecting minor changes, but instead the atoms split apart, nuclear fission, a process that released immense energy. Hahn, a meticulous researcher who had won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his work on radioactive elements, was baffled at first. It was his exiled colleague, Austrian physicist Lise Meitner, working in Sweden with her nephew Otto Frisch, who pieced it together. Fission wasn't just a curiosity. It could unleash energy on a scale never imagined, potentially powering cities or devastating them. News of the discovery spread like wildfire through the scientific community. In America, where many Jewish scientists had fled Nazi persecution, alarm bells rang. Leo Szilard, a Hungarian physicist with a restless mind and a flair for invention, he had patented the idea of a nuclear chain reaction years earlier, saw the peril immediately. "If the Germans get this first, the war is lost," he confided to friends. Szilard, who had bounced between Berlin, London, and now New York, enlisted fellow Hungarian Eugene Wigner and approached the most famous scientist alive, Albert Einstein. On a humid August day in 1939, on Einstein's summer cottage on Long Island, they drafted a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Einstein, with his wild hair and gentle demeanor, signed it reluctantly, warning that extremely powerful bombs of a new type could be constructed from uranium and that Germany had already seized uranium mines in Czechoslovakia. The letter, delivered through economist Alexander Sachs on October 11, 1939, just weeks after Hitler's invasion of Poland, urged the U.S. to stockpile uranium and accelerate research. Roosevelt, ever the pragmatist, took heed. He formed the Advisory Committee on Uranium, a small group chaired by Lyman Briggs of the National Bureau of Standards. Initial funding was meager, $6,000 for graphite and uranium, but it sparked early experiments. At Columbia University in New York, Italian physicist Enrico Fermi, who had fled Mussolini's Italy with his Jewish wife Laura, teamed up with Szilard. Fermi, a Nobel laureate known for his methodical approach, built primitive piles of uranium and graphite in the basement of Pupin Hall. On January 13, 1939, they achieved the first nuclear fission in the Americas, a quiet crackle that hinted at vast potential. But challenges loomed. Uranium-235, the fissile isotope, made up only 0.7% of natural uranium. Separating it seemed impossible on a large scale. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, British scientists were advancing faster. In March 1940, Otto Frisch and Rudolf Peilers, both refugees at the University of Birmingham, calculated that merely 10 kilograms of pure uranium-235, about the size of a grapefruit, could create a critical mass for an explosion equivalent to thousands of tons of TNT. Their memorandum shocked the British government, leading to the formation of the Maud Committee. By July 1941, Maud's report concluded an atomic bomb was feasible within 2 years. Mark Oliphant, an Australian physicist, flew to America to share the findings, jolting complacent U.S. researchers. "We can't let the Nazis beat us," Oliphant urged Ernest Lawrence in Berkeley, who was developing the cyclotron, a particle accelerator that could potentially enrich uranium. As Pearl Harbor plunged America into war on December 7, 1941, the urgency escalated. Vannevar Bush, head of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, OSRD, pushed for a full-scale program. Roosevelt approved, and on June 18, 1942, the Army Corps of Engineers took control. Colonel James C. Marshall was initially appointed, but he lacked the drive for such a colossal task. Enter Leslie Richard Groves, a burly West Point graduate with a mustache and a reputation for bulldozing obstacles. Fresh from overseeing the Pentagon's construction, the largest office building in the world, Groves was promoted to Brigadier General on September 23, 1942, and given command. "Build the bomb," Roosevelt told him, "and do it fast." Groves, pragmatic to a fault, secured a AAA priority rating for materials, outranking even the Navy's shipbuilding. Groves needed a scientific counterpart. He interviewed Nobel laureates, but settled on J. Robert Oppenheimer, a lanky theoretical physicist from Berkeley, with piercing blue eyes and a love of Sanskrit poetry. Oppenheimer had no administrative experience, and past communist ties raised red flags. But Groves saw genius. "He's the man," he declared, overriding security concerns. Oppenheimer was appointed director of the Bomb Design Laboratory on October 19, 1942. Together, they embodied the duality of the project: military discipline meets intellectual fervor. The project, codenamed Manhattan from its New York origins, ballooned into a behemoth. It would employ 130,000 people, cost $2 billion, nearly $30 billion today, and span 30 sites across the U.S., Canada, and Britain. Secrecy was paramount. Workers signed oaths, mail was censored, and towns sprang up overnight with no names on maps. "Loose lips sink ships," posters warned, but here they could end the world. First came the sites. In September 1942, Groves acquired 56,000 acres in eastern Tennessee for what became Oak Ridge, or Site X. Nestled in the Appalachian Ridges, it was chosen for its isolation, cheap power from the Tennessee Valley Authority, and access to railroads. Eminent domain displaced 1,000 families, some with roots dating to the Revolutionary War. Construction began furiously. Barracks, schools, even a symphony orchestra to keep morale high. At its peak, Oak Ridge housed 75,000 residents, making it Tennessee's 5th largest city, yet it didn't exist officially. Oak Ridge's mission: enrich uranium. 3 methods were pursued in parallel, a risky bet reflecting the project's desperation. The Y-12 plant used electromagnetic separation via calotrons, giant mass spectrometers designed by Lawrence. Due to wartime copper shortages, Groves borrowed 14,700 tons of silver from the U.S. Treasury, worth $300 million, for wiring. Calotron girls, young women from local farms trained on the spot, monitored the machines. "We didn't know what we were making, but we knew it was for the war," one recalled. By February 1945, it hummed with efficiency. Further west, in the arid Columbia Basin of Washington State, Site W, Hanford, was selected in January 1943. Over 400,000 acres were cleared, displacing Native American tribes and farmers. DuPont, the chemical giant, agreed to build plutonium reactors for a symbolic $1 fee. The B reactor, the world's first production-scale nuclear reactor, went critical on September 26, 1944. Water from the Columbia River cooled its graphite-moderated core, piled with 200 tons of uranium. But disaster nearly struck. Within hours, The reaction stalled due to xenon-135, a fission byproduct that absorbed neutrons. Physicists scrambled. Enrico Fermi suggested overloading the reactor with extra uranium slugs. It worked, a surprising fix that saved the project. Hanford's workforce swelled to 51,000, living in trailer camps and prefab houses. Radiation safety was rudimentary. Workers wore film badges to monitor exposure, but leaks contaminated the river. Plutonium, named after the god of the underworld, was extracted in canyons, remote-controlled facilities to shield from radioactivity. The first micrograms arrived at Los Alamos in February 1944, a silvery metal that felt warm to the touch from its own decay. At the heart of it all was Los Alamos, Site Y, perched on a mesa in New Mexico. Oppenheimer scouted the location in November 1942, a former boys' ranch with stunning views of the James Mountains. "This is it," he said, envisioning a utopia for scientists. The government bought 54,000 acres for $440,000, and construction turned the mesa into a boom town. Fences enclosed it, guards patrolled, and babies born there listed P.O. Box 1663 Santa Fe as their birthplace. Los Alamos was Oppenheimer's domain, a melting pot of geniuses. Hans Bethe from Germany, leading theoretical physics, Richard Feynman, the young prankster who cracked safes for fun, Edward Teller, the Hungarian father of the hydrogen bomb, and Niels Bohr, smuggled from Denmark in 1943. Women played crucial roles too. Leona Woods Marshall, the youngest on Fermi's team, monitored reactors. Chien-Shiung Wu, the First Lady of Physics, verified fission theories. Life on the Hill was surreal. Scientists debated quantum mechanics over martinis at parties, while families dealt with mud roads and rationed water. Secrecy bred paranoia. Phone calls were monitored and outgoing letters censored. Yet creativity flourished. The lab tackled two bomb designs: Thin Man, a gun type for plutonium, and Little Boy for uranium. But in July 1944, a shock. Plutonium-240, an impurity, caused pre-detonation, making the gun method useless. Enter implosion, compressing a plutonium sphere with explosives to achieve criticality. Implosion was fiendishly complex. George Kistiakowsky, a Ukrainian chemist, designed lenses, shaped charges of high explosives like composition B and baritol. Testing involved 100-ton TNT blasts in the canyons, shaking the mesa. The RLA experiments used radioactive lanthanum to track compression waves, a hazardous innovation. By spring 1945, the team had a workable design: a plutonium core, the pit, alloyed with gallium for stability, surrounded by uranium tamper and explosives. International collaboration added layers. Britain's Tube Alloys project merged with Manhattan via the Quebec Agreement in 1943. James Chadwick led a British mission to Los Alamos, including Klaus Fuchs, a brilliant physicist who, unbeknownst, was a Soviet spy. Fuchs passed designs to Moscow, accelerating the Cold War. Canada contributed uranium from Great Bear Lake and heavy water from Trail, British Columbia, used in Chicago's Pile 3, the first heavy water reactor. Back in Chicago, the metallurgical lab pioneered reactor technology. On December 2, 1942, under Stagg Field's bleachers, a football stadium, Fermi's Pile 1 achieved the first sustained chain reaction. 40 scientists watched as cadmium control rods were withdrawn. "The pile has gone critical," Fermi announced calmly. A coded message to Washington: "The Italian navigator has landed in the New World." This proved plutonium could be bred in reactors, but it also sparked ethical qualms. In June 1945, the Franck Report, signed by Szilard and others at the Met Lab, urged demonstrating the bomb on a deserted island instead of cities. Roosevelt's death in April left the decision to Harry Truman. As Allied forces closed on Germany, the Alsos mission,
led by Colonel Boris Pasch, hunted Nazi nuclear secrets. They captured Werner Heisenberg and found Germany's program was years behind, a surprising relief. No bomb for Hitler. By summer 1945, the bombs were ready. Little Boy, 64 kilograms of uranium from Oak Ridge, assembled in a gun barrel to slam two subcritical masses together. Fat Man, 6.2 kilograms of Hanford plutonium, imploded by 32 lenses. On Tinian Island in the Pacific, the 509th Composite Group, under Colonel Tibbets, practiced drops. On July 26th, the Potsdam Declaration demanded Japan's surrender or face prompt and utter destruction. Trinity tested Fat Man's design. The gadget, hoisted on a 100-foot tower, detonated with 21 kilotons of force, vaporizing the tower and fusing sand into green glass called trinitite. Shockwaves felt 100 miles away prompted cover stories of an ammo dump explosion. Truman, at Potsdam, told Stalin vaguely of a new weapon. The Soviet leader nodded, already informed by spies. On August 6th, Tibbets' Enola Gay, named after his mother, dropped Little Boy over Hiroshima at 8:15 a.m. The blast leveled 5 square miles, killing 70,000 instantly. Radiation and fires claimed 140,000 by year-end. A harnessed atom is a terrible thing, Tibbets reflected. Japan did not yield. On August 9th, Major Charles Sweeney piloted Boxer to Nagasaki, dropping Fat Man amid clouds. The hilly terrain limited damage, but 40,000 died immediately, up to 80,000 by December. Emperor Hirohito announced surrender on August 15th, VJ Day. The bombs hastened the end, saving perhaps millions in an invasion, but horrors lingered. Survivors' keloid scars, leukemia spikes, and generational trauma. Ethical debates rage. Was Nagasaki necessary after Hiroshima? Truman insisted yes, but Szilard lamented, "We started the arms race." The project's aftermath transformed America. It birthed the Atomic Energy Commission in 1946, shifting to civilian control. Labs like Los Alamos evolved into national institutions, advancing computing. Feynman's early work influenced modern AI and medicine, with isotopes for cancer treatment. But scars remain. Hanford's 56 million gallons of radioactive waste leak into groundwater. Oak Ridge's mercury pollution affects rivers. Surprising facts abound. The Project Silver loan was repaid with interest. A 1945 Life magazine article nearly exposed it, and Feynman once picked locks on classified files to highlight security flaws. Women, often overlooked, were vital. Catherine K. Way analyzed neutron data. Maria Goeppert-Mayer won a Nobel for nuclear shell models. The Manhattan Project was America's moonshot before the moon, a testament to what humans achieve under pressure and the perils of unchecked power. From Einstein's letter to Oppenheimer's regret, it reminds us, in splitting the atom, we split our souls. Yet in its wake, a world rebuilt, forever shadowed by the mushroom cloud.